and welcome back to the channel again. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a Super GT race at Suzuka. This was the other race I think I mentioned when I did the race where I was defending really hard. This was a little bit different. I had to attack a little bit more in this race and it was a really fun race, so I hope you enjoy this. For this race I wanted to do it a little bit different again. I'm not like I've been doing a lot of editing and moving the cameras around, but I wanted to go back to how I started the channel off a bit more for this race and just go back to having just the cameras, you know, on the cockpit throughout the whole race and the two other cameras at the top of the screen there, just so we can get more of the gameplay for this video. As you can see there, following straight onto the rear of P3 and V Cristiano, trying to have a little look down that right hand side to see if I can make a move, but decided again it's not worth risking that. This is obviously again just a few days before the FIA started, so at this stage of the race, you know, this stage before the FIA, I didn't want to make any risks. I didn't want to lose massive amounts of DR. It was about just maintaining DR and just increasing it gradually. So you can see again, I'm not going to make any stupid moves, trying to keep the car on the track and just trying to keep reasonable pace. You can see up ahead there, dead Kip again, very fast at this track in these Super GTs, and going to try and pull away straight away. Obviously I defended against him in the other video you saw when he was all over the rear, and I managed to hold him off pretty much to the end, but obviously had to get rid of that penalty, and he then obviously got me once I got rid of the penalties. You can see there, P2 straight away picking up a penalty. This guy in P2 is very fast. However, I have noticed he makes a fair few amount of mistakes and gets a lot of penalties, but he is really fast. He just needs to curb the mistakes, and I think he'll be doing very well on GT Sport. As you can see there, V Cristiano, actually I lost contact with V Cristiano at the start of this race. I made a few errors on the outlap, obviously from the first lap away from when the lights went out, and it put me under pressure from the guy behind me, FTR, and you can see they're getting very close. But the good thing about this Lexus is it's got a reasonably good straight line speed compared to NSX, so you can see on that top right hand corner he's picking up the slipstream, but he's not going to be able to make a move. You can see the delta there, he's over 3 tenths behind, and he's not really going to be able to make a move at this point, so I'm okay going flat out through the really fast 130R and then coming into the braking zone. I decided he's not going to be able to make a move there, but he just lunges one up the inside. I don't know if he outbraked himself or what, but he hit the side of my car and give me a penalty in the process. So that's a 1 second penalty that really wasn't my fault, but again, up ahead there, P3 looks like he's made an error, so that's given me the chance to get past P3, and this is the guy that I was talking about. He makes a lot of errors, but he's really fast. I think once he can just get rid of the errors, I think he's going to be an extremely fast driver on this game. As you can see there, trying to now concentrate on P3 and just hold off the guy behind me. You can see FTR very close behind me, but I felt like once I got into a rhythm I'd be able to hold him off and build up a reasonable gap and make sure that he wouldn't be able to make another move like that. It was a very dangerous move. I don't really know what the full plan was, whether it was deliberate, whether it was an overtaking opportunity, because he was over a tenth behind and I braked on the limit of where the braking was and he just launched it up the inside. So a little bit silly. You know, these are the type of things I try and avoid. I don't make moves like that because they're the type of moves that can ruin multiple people's races. You know, if there's an opportunity to make a proper overtaking attempt, I will go for that overtaking attempt, you know, but I won't risk a stupid move that's going to cost a lot of people positions in the race. And obviously I don't want to lose massive amounts of driver rating. You know, in this FIA coming up, you want to have the most FIA rating because, the most driver rating, because not only does it affect the split screen, but it also affects the overall points you get at the end of the race. So if you've got more points, you're going to get more points because the average through the people that are in the race is higher. So you know, you need to bear that in mind as well. As you can see now, my concentration now that I've got a bit of a gap to P4, built up over half a second, so now I feel fairly comfortable that he's not going to be able to launch one up into the inside. I can start concentrating on trying to close in on P3 and get that gap a little bit shorter, and then just obviously try and keep the short shifting slightly with this car. I've said it before in other videos, this car really does benefit from just that mild short shifting. You see it there, just short shifting just before the end of the rev range. It might not look like much, but in this car, if you do that, you don't really lose. You might lose a tenth or so, a lap or something like that, but you don't. You gain back so much more in fuel, and it's really a big advice I can give you. You know, you hardly lose anything. You won't notice it in terms of lap time because it can actually keep you quite smooth as well. So you don't tend to notice what you're losing, and it still holds its pace, especially against the NSX, because even if you're doing that, you're probably just equal speed to the NSX, and this car really uses its fuel up when you rev it, when you over revving it. So just try and avoid that with this car. I've mentioned it in other videos, and you can see that's how I'm doing this race there. And I'm slowly gaining back in on V Cristiano. You can see there the gap's under 2 seconds now. I've brought it down slightly. I'm homing in every, a little bit every lap, and just trying to keep the short shift in, as I felt like he might be going a little bit more aggressive on that opening lap when he really went for it. I felt like he probably used a bit more fuel than what I did when I was trying to short shift it. Maybe I should have done that to avoid getting hit by P4, because I felt like I had the pace over P4. You can see he's struggling to keep with my rear now and then stay in my slipstream. He's nearly a second behind. I've nearly got him out that slipstream, but he's just holding on to the back end of the slipstream. And these cars again are fairly strong with that slipstream, so trying to get rid of it is so important. You'll see me pushing as hard as I can going onto the back straight, but again he's under 8 tenths behind me, and then he's picking up that slipstream all the way down the straight, so he's even gaining on me even though his car isn't quite as fast as mine, so he's still gaining on me. So it's a little bit frustrating, but you've just got to try and find a way to break the slipstream. So you can see there going into this chicane again, trying to push it fairly hard, attacking the curbs so that I can get a really clean and fast exit from this corner. You can see how much I'm gaining on V Cristiano. I'm actually catching him up ever so slightly. He's about 1.4 seconds ahead now. He was over 2 seconds ahead, but again P4, look, he's just getting that slipstream again. When he's just about to get him out of the slipstream, he's just slightly picking it up. You can see P5 is a guy who started in P2, the very fast driver, and he's starting to put FTR under pressure, and FTR actually made a mistake going wide into turn 1, and he's I think it's a Zaries or something like that, P4 the chance now to push on up and put me under pressure. He has got really good speed, this guy that's coming up behind me now, so I had to really just try and keep it consistent and make sure that I didn't make any errors. You can see myself still doing the short shifting, because I wanted to give myself the ability when it comes to the pit stop not to be put under pressure or get jumped by the guy behind me, because he's a very fast driver. I didn't want him to be able to short shift and gain more fuel than me and then just jump me in the pit stop phase. Obviously he's probably had to use a bit of fuel to get push his way past the FTR driver, and he's only got a couple of laps to the pit stop now. We're on the end, coming to the end of lap 4, and then there's one more lap before we pit. So this has been a really close race so far. The opening few laps very close, and it was a really fun race to be involved with. V Cristiano is a very fast driver. I feel like I had the pace on him in this track. I didn't know how much fuel he was using at this stage. I had no idea, if he was doing what I'm doing, the short shifting, or if he's driving aggressive. I really did not know. It's hard to work out because you can't really tell with this car because of the competitiveness, how fast it is when you're short shifting. It doesn't really have much difference in terms of your straight line speed. So when you're looking at the delta, I normally do it. It's one thing if a driver is in front of me, is check out the delta when you're hitting the top speed parts of the racetrack. That's when I tend to check the delta very often to see if you're gaining on them, because if you see that you're gaining on them in certain places like that, it's a sign that they're doing a lot of fuel saving it. So you can then try and counter it with some fuel saving yourself. Now starting obviously lap 5, the lap that we're going to be pitting on at the end of this lap. You can see there my lap times have been reasonably consistent. Obviously the tyre is starting to kick in a bit, a 50.0, so close to getting in the 49s. It was really frustrating because I really wanted to get a 49.5. There was potential for me to get it. I need to start getting to them low 49s in race conditions to start being able to compete with the top drivers. You can see there's to keep a 49.5. That's what a 49.1 I think it is, and that's what I need to be able to get to and start achieving them better laps. But a 50.0 and a 50.1 and then a 50.5, obviously where the tyres are starting to kick in with a bit of tyre. Obviously I've been doing a bit of fuel saving in this run. Not too sure if Z-Kip would have been doing fuel saving. It would be interesting to see if he was just driving it flat out and pushing really hard. But like I say, you don't really tend to gain too much time, although I think he was in the NSX, which in general is probably a bit of a faster car at this track. I just prefer the Lexus in terms of the way it feels. I feel a little bit safer driving this car, although when I did use the NSX in the previous video, it was definitely faster. It's just that I remember the few races I did. I think I did about 4 or 5 races, and the potential was there, but I think 2 out of them 5 races I made mistakes because the car was just a bit loose for my style, and I would rather just keep consistency and not lose massive amounts of driver rating than obviously go that car. So you can see there again, P4 getting close, but he's not really been able to put me under too much pressure as he's been gaining on me. Just been gaining on me a little bit every lap, and I've managed to hold the gap to about 1.5 seconds to V Cristiano. So fairly equally matched myself in P2, but then I think the driver behind me is definitely faster. He's got 14% there, Z-Kip, as he's gone in the pits, and I go in with 15%. So it's very close. he's obviously been doing a bit of fuel saving as well, Zkip, even though he's been doing that amount, that fuel, obviously them lap times. As you can see there, the car jumped as it went in the pits. That's a bug that I've noticed appears on quite a few times when you're on the replay footage of another driver. It just lands in the pits. It's very strange. But you can see they're putting the fuel in and stopping it a little bit short, because I knew that I could still do some short shifting, because I wanted to get into P2 slipstream. So you can see I actually gained a bit on P4. He's dropped back a bit where I underfueled ever so slightly. You can see I've come out with 4.9 laps of fuel, but that's not going to be a difficult task in terms of, you know, saving towards the end, as long as I do short shifting. If I can get into V Cristiano's slipstream, I wanted to go a bit more aggressive with this strategy. So often I play it a bit too safe, so I decided to short fill up a bit so that I could get into V Cristiano's slipstream and then try and put him under some pressure. You can see he's obviously knows I'm in his slipstream. You can see the body language of the car, the way it moves around. You can really see, you know, the rear stepping out a bit, where he's obviously starting to push and wants to break that slipstream. So I've got to push as well to try and stay in the slipstream, and I wanted to put him under a lot of pressure, see if he would buckle under the pressure. He is a very good driver. I've raced him a few times now. I think it was in Brazil. I've raced him a couple of times, and in general we're very equally matched. It seems fairly close in terms of race speed and qualifying and stuff. It's fairly even whenever I come across him. So you can see trying to really push, and he's nearly breaking that slipstream, but I just wanted to, as long as I can just pick it up ever so slightly, we're in even cars. If I've got a slight amount of slipstream, I'm going to gain on him. So you can see getting onto the back straight, trying to get a really clean exit. You can see the rear stepping out on P2's car as he's trying to get on the power. I managed to get a really solid exit that time, and I actually managed to pull away slightly from the driver behind me and gained quite a bit on V Cristiano. Managed to gain over a tenth on him just on that one corner and stretch of road, as you can see there, going into the final chicane, and got the gap up to 1.4, 1.5 seconds to P4. I wasn't sure if P4 was doing some fuel saving at this stage, maybe saving some fuel for the last lap or two to push really hard. I really didn't know. I expected him to be gaining on me a lot more than what he is so far, but obviously I'm picking up the slipstream, getting even closer now. You can see getting under half a second behind P2 and driving really aggressively into this corner. Nearly went too fast. You could see I panicked at that point. The car went too fast in, got onto the curb on the left hand side, and everyone will know if that happens at Suzuka, you really do have a little moment where you think, I've gone in too deep. Luckily I managed to save it and keep it on the track. I was really surprised. I did think that I was heading off into the grass and probably losing a lot of time, but I did lose about 2 tenths to P2, where I obviously panicked and had to get out of it and couldn't put the power on down, but luckily stayed in his slipstream, but lost again 2-3 tenths to P4. So he's very close to picking up my slipstream. This is, them 2 corners there as well. The NSX very strong, he's able to carry so much more speed than the Lexus, and he's picked up another few tenths there. Now he's on a charge. He obviously wants to get involved with this battle at the front. He can see myself battling probably, and he wants to probably be able to be right on the rear of my car. If any mistakes are made, he's then able to take advantage and make a move somewhere. So you can see again getting to half a second behind V Cristiano as I'm pushing really hard now. I wanted to get past him. I felt like I had the speed to get past him. I felt like in the first stint I wasn't sure whether I had that opening lap where I lost a bit of time. I think it was when I got hit by FTR, but I think over the rest 5 laps it was fairly equal. If anything, I had a couple of attempts a lap. I feel like I had a tenth a lap over P2. So now pushing again really hard to see if I can find a way to make a move anywhere. I wanted to see, this is a place where you can make a move, but again, half a second back, way too back, too far to really make a move, but I'm really getting close on him through the chicane, and this enables me to get really close now going into the turn 1. If I can get in his slipstream at this point, I may be able to have a little look up on the inside. You can see they're gaining, constantly gaining on him, and again, it looks like it's going to be a bit too far back, so I have a little look and decide it's not worth just launching something up from that type of distance. There are people that will do it on the game, and it is frustrating when drivers like that do that. I will never really do anything like that. I tend to be fairly sensible in the approach to my overtakes. I will go for something if I think there's a chance of an overtake, then I'll do it. If I feel that an overtake is going to lead to crashes, then I won't do it. So you can see, just again trying to keep it consistent through the first section. Really tricky section as you go through the winding corners, and that NSX is so close to the rear of my car now. He's just under 3 tenths behind. So this is a case of, again, very similar to the FI race I had, where I'm pressured from behind and I've got to attack as well to the driver in front. and it affects your ability to attack when you're being attacked from behind, because like there, I couldn't take the perfect line into the corner just in case he threw one up the inside. I had to take a very narrow line, but luckily I've got the slipstream still of P2 to help defend my, against P4. He's in the NSX, so he's a little bit slower anyway, so if I've got a little bit of slipstream with P2, he's going to find it hard to make a move anyway on the track. And again, you can see he's getting so close, through them corners. But now this is where I had to get on the power really early and try and pick up V Cristiano's slipstream, who's in front of me, and P4 dropping back a little bit there. You can see he doesn't quite get the speed that I've got out of the corners. He is gaining now once he's in the slipstream, but I'm also gaining on P2 and getting that gap down to half a second again. So you can see how closely matched this is. This was a really good battle between 3 drivers, and there's been no suicide moves, there's been no stupid driving. It's been really clean, and it's really enjoyable when the racing is like this. This is what I like, and this is why I wanted to keep it on board for a video, just to show you, the concentration needed. You've got to be aware of the car behind you all the time. Luckily this Lexus has that mirror there, which is really handy. I like the cars that have the mirror there like that, so I can see behind rather than having to look behind all the time and then get really close. You see V Cristiano's made an error and I had to back out there, I had to lift off. I couldn't really go past him anywhere, but he looks like he's really under pressure and he's making some errors again through that corner. He's made another error. He's going into this corner and he's lost the rear slightly there, and he's made and he's gone off. He's spun the car completely round there. You saw it 360 degrees, and he's lost a lot of time, and so he's out this battle now. So it's just myself and P3, so it's a fight now for that second position. Zkip is gone. With this battling we've been doing, we've probably lost a bit of time on the road, maybe like 3 or 4 tenths a lap, and he's obviously pulled away. He was going to pull away anyway. He's a very fast driver at this track, so he's 10 seconds up the road, and now I've got to try and defend without a slipstream to P3. Luckily my car is a little bit faster in the straight lines. You can see the exit I get from that corner. It's just a little bit easier to put the power down, I find, but then the NSX through the corners is able to just carry that extra speed that then leaves on, if you get a good exit from the corner in that NSX, you can then pick the slipstream up so well, and it's going to be a real threat coming on the corners. You can see going through this corner, I go a little bit wide and I've got onto the curb, and that's really lost me a lot of speed down the straight. Now at this point I went to go defend. I don't know what my fault train was at this point. This is an error on my behalf. I left the door open, and at this point I just couldn't shut it, so I decided to let him go through. I braked, let him go through, because I already had a penalty and I didn't want to get another penalty or get involved with a crash. V Cristiano still only, he's about 6, I think he's about 5 seconds behind or something like that, 6 seconds behind. I didn't want to give, spin both of us and then we both lose out on that. I still wanted to get a top 3, but now I'm going to have a little look, see if I can make a move somewhere. So I go left, fake it, and try and go down the right hand side onto the grass, but just cannot. I just can't throw it up that inside again. Had to brake early. Great driving from P2, gave me the space, but then threw it in really late. The NSX can carry so much speed through the corners. There wasn't much I could do there, but now it's going to be impossible to really hold with that. I cannot get these corners as fast as the NSX. Just look at the way the NSX can really throw itself into these corners. This is the strong point for the NSX. You can really push it out wide and get really good entries into the corners. You can see the rear stepping out though on the NSX, and that's one thing that I don't like about the car. It doesn't feel stable. I don't feel 100% pushing that car, and that's why I tend to drive the Lexus. It feels more consistent, more stable, but again you can see the difference on the cornering speed. On the straights the Lexus is good, but it just doesn't have the ability of change of direction that the NSX has, and that's why a lot of people use it at Suzuka for that first section. Really, if you hook it up, you can gain a lot of time. You can see now he's pushing really hard, and this is the point that if that was me now at a second ahead, I wouldn't be pushing quite as hard as what he is doing. He obviously wants to try and break the slipstream, but a second ahead, I'm not going to be able to get into his slipstream and make a move anywhere. So if I was him, I wouldn't be pushing quite as hard as he is, and this is probably one of the things that he needs to chill out on, because he does make a few errors. He is a very fast driver. I've seen him win races and stuff, but he makes a few errors, and I think I remember someone saying it in the lobby a while ago about the errors he makes. He is definitely one of the fastest on the games, but he just pushes 100% every lap. He just goes for it, and not that I don't think I could do it as well. I mean, it's not just that I couldn't do it. I just play a bit safer, as you can see there, getting rid of the penalty, and I go over the line in P3. So a respectable result. Obviously, I would have liked P2, but I don't know what I was thinking when I went to go defensive and then just didn't do it. And once he was on my left hand side, I couldn't do much about that then. I had to just give him the corner, because trying to go too wide through that corner is so dangerous and it's not worth the risk. I just backed out of it, out of the corner, and give him that position. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I thoroughly enjoyed that race. It was a really good race to be involved with, putting V Cristiano under pressure, a very fast driver, and trying to, you know, pressurize him into a mistake, and finally broke and made that error, and I got myself into P2, but then had to give up that P2, but still a podium, so happy with that. And another really fun race at Suzuka, and hopefully tomorrow's race in the FIA will be a good race, and I'll have that uploaded Sunday. I'm not too sure what I may try and get some track guides out for tomorrow's video for the FIA races. I'm not too sure yet. I'm not 100% confident at the Group 4 race. I've learnt the track though. I feel okay at it. I just need to get some race consistency, and then I'll try and get out a track guide to help people out if I've got time tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe and click that notification button so you don't miss any videos. I do upload every single day, and obviously give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Thanks again for watching, everyone.